Before we get to today's video, I do want to let you know it's sponsored by Lootcakes. It's a website designed for gamers like us. So we share our spending habits on free-to-play games like Raid, and in exchange we have the opportunity to win money from them. Pretty cool, I think. All you have to do is sign up by June 15th, and you'll be eligible for their next giveaway, which is a $25 gift card. So pretty easy way to make some money. Hopefully this is something you guys are interested in, and if it is, there's going to be details as well as links in the description down below, so make sure to check that out. Let's get to the video now. Welcome. I'm the DeadwoodJedi, and there's another Raid Shadow Legends video. I'm kind of excited because we have a crazy patch coming up. Now, I'm not sure exactly when it's supposed to drop, but when this new patch does arrive, and I think it should be early this week, if not then the following week, but we're going to get, for the first time in this game, skill prioritization. We're going to have a manual control over what skills are used and when they're used by our champions. This is super exciting because finally we can really start to see the full potential of these champions. So often we're combating the terrible AI of these champs, and now we get to choose whether we want to institute a manual version of that or not. Now, this isn't new news. I know this came out earlier this week, so it's nothing like crazy groundbreaking that we're having this. But for those of you that don't know, I'm going to cover it really quickly, and then I want to talk about, and this is what today's video is really about, I want to talk to you guys about 10 champions that I think are going to be most impacted by this. Now, obviously, I have a penchant for clan boss, and a lot of these AI fixes, they really do have the biggest impact on clan boss. It's going to open up a bunch of different ways that we can tune our champions without having to do these silly workarounds all the time. I think it's going to make it a lot easier to use traditional teams in this game. So I'm really excited about that. It's going to make it easier for all kinds of teams, though, and I think that's going to be really beneficial towards us. However, before we get into that, first thing, I want to thank these folks, my fine patrons, for supporting me through this and supporting the calculator. That's how we're able to do that, is from really your guys supporting me, and that's just huge. If you guys want some account work, coaching, takeovers, that kind of thing, hit me up on Patreon. There are links down below in the description of this video, as well as the pinned comment as well. The other thing is I'm going to have a game on video talking about 5 other champions that I think are going to have a really big impact with these new AI changes. This is going to affect pretty much everybody, but these are 5 that I think are going to be really, really good. But I don't want to waste too much time on that. I do want to dive in. I want to look at the 10 that I think are going to be most impacted. So let's take a look at those. So I've divided these 10 champions basically into 5 different categories. And the first one, this is going to be probably the least impactful in general for most people, but is one of the categories I think is going to probably be most prevalent among people because we all have these champions. It's ally protection champions. And you might be going, ally protection, what are you talking about? Well, there's a weird thing about the AI in this game. For champions like Tyrant here, I think is one of those champions that's going to be most affected. They have ally protection or increased defense. I'm kind of lumping those two things in together here. But ally protection and increased defense buffs. Those buffs, most champions, I would say, most champions, if they have those buffs to place on a skill, they won't place it if that buff is already on them. And so ally protection is really great when you can have 2 ally protectors on the same team, right? Each one's protecting each other. Everybody takes half health that way. Well, it's very hard when my Tyrant won't cast ally protection if he already has ally protection on himself, or increased defense if he already has increased defense on himself. So you're going to see this affect a ton of champions. But the 3 that I want to highlight the most, because I think they're the best for things like clan boss, is 1, Tyrant. Tyrant is an amazing champion with an awesome passive that we don't get to use for clan boss very often, because he's so hard to tune with. If you have increased defense and ally protection on your champion already, he's not going to use a skill, and that can be a real big problem. So when you have champions like, say, Alton and Skullcrusher, and you want to bring Tyrant in, well, Alton puts up that increased defense, Skullcrusher puts up that ally attack. The next attack comes around, and Tyrant won't put up his. And that's a big issue because obviously he's doubling up on buffs, so he doesn't want to do that. But for us, that's what we want. We want to double up on the buffs. We want to make sure that's out there for everybody all the time. And so that can be a big issue. So that's one of the champions I think is going to be really affected. Another one that I think is going to be really affected, and this is one of those champions who's kind of like a B tier clan boss champion. He's about to become an A tier one, and that's Jarreg. Jarreg is fantastic in this game. First off, he has a great passive that heals, much like Tyrant, great passes on this skill. But he also has an increased defense and ally protection buff. The hard part is, though, if he already has those 2 skills on himself, he won't use this skill again. And that's really, really problematic. He also has decreased attack on his A1, so he's really, really useful in this game. And he's really great for early level accounts. Getting that ally protection helps you survive so much longer. But because of that, it can be really difficult to tune with. Well, with the new AI, I'm hopeful if it works the way it should, that skill will be regular. He can use it even if he has those 2 skills already on himself. This could be a game changer for a lot of clan boss teams. Another champion, the other one that I think is going to be most affected out of these 3 in this kind of like broad, ally protection, increased defense category is Rearguard Sergeant, who this is a phenomenal champion. Phenomenal champion, guys. Brings everything you really want. It's kind of like a kind of a soft martyr in a lot of ways because she has a decreased defense on her A1. It's a hard skill to find, and it's fantastic when you can. She also has an AoE decreased attack. Now, it's only 75% chance to land, so not something I always recommend using, but has that ability. And then, obviously, it's ally protection. Great part about this ally protection comes with a continuous heal buff to help keep your team alive. She won't use this if she has ally protection on herself, however. So she's almost impossible to use with a champion like Skull Crusher or Tyrant or Jarreg for that matter. And that can be really difficult on a team trying to tune with. With this AI fix works the way we want it to, she could be amazing for us. Really good champion anyway, but just gets underused in Clan Boss because of her AI. This should hopefully fix it. Now, the next section I want to talk about, the next group of champions, is going to be the ally attack champions. And I'm really talking about 2 champions in particular here. The first one I'm going to talk about is going to be one that's been around for a little bit. If I can find her. Oh, that's right. Wrong category. Orcs. We're talking about Krill. Krill Witcharm. Krill Witcharm is a great champion. And this is mostly an arena fix as much as it is anything else. For her, it's going to be primary arena where this is going to be best because she has this ability here, right? Increase attack, increase crit rate buff, and then attacks all enemies. This is great. It's a great skill. Except when you're in arena. Because when you're in arena, the first thing you want to do is her A2 skill, which is a ally attack skill. That's easily the one you want to use, right? Not to mention it comes with a stun on her A1. So this is the issue. When you're using an arena, you want her to use this, but her AI leans towards using this one. So if you don't want to manual, you just want to click auto and go, Krilla's not an option for you as an ally attack champion for your blender teams. Well, now she is. Now she is, because we can all of a sudden make it, hey, in arena, I want to use this A2 skill first. Clan boss, yeah, let's use that A3, but in arena, A2 first. So really big effect, I think, and that's something that is going to be really useful pretty much wherever you're going to use her. Being able to prioritize which skill, I think, is huge for her. The other champion that I think is going to have a massive impact with that is going to be Cardiel, one of the newer champions. And here's the thing with Cardiel. Cardiel loves to use his ally attack ability. Loves to use it. It's a great skill. Increased crit rate, increased crit damage, and then an ally attack skill. It's amazing. But he also really likes to use his A1 skill because it heals. We don't need him to heal all the time. We don't really care as much about his A1 as we do about, say, his A2, which is a cleanse and places block debuffs and revive on death and a bunch of other things. Especially in Clan Boss, you'll see that Cardiel tends to revert to using only her A1. By being able to manually choose her skills, we're much more able to be able to tune her in Clan Boss, and I think he's going to have a lot more viability for us all throughout the game. This becomes a huge, huge ability. We're going to see him in a lot of unkillable teams, and he's going to shine in there. It's going to be amazing for that. So Cardiel is definitely one of those champions that I recommend using, and I think is going to be great. And this change with the AI is going to be huge. Here's the other thing about this AI change. So this books down to a 4-turn cooldown, the A3 skill. This A2 skill books down to a 3-turn cooldown. There's a block debuffs on this skill, right? Because it books down to a 3-turn cooldown, if we can make this the priority, the ally attack won't come up as often. But what it means is we can build a traditional team, affinity friendly, with an ally attack champion in there. We can do it on a 2-1 ratio, we can do a 1-1, but like being able to place a block debuffs for 2 turns is huge. And being able to tune around that rather than the ally attack skill is also huge and will make this so much better. So being able to alter some of the, like, what are we tuning around is going to be really big. In the same respect, there's lots of champions like that where they have two skills that we like to use, but one of them we maybe want to prioritize one on a shorter cooldown than the other one, or vice versa. And actually, we're going to get to a champion just like that a little bit later here. The next segment that I want to talk about are going to be arena champions, and this is like very specifically arena champions. These are champions that do unique things, but because of their AI in arena, they become very difficult to tune around. And you have to do all these exploits, right? You have to put a couple champions in immunity gear to make them work, or something along those lines. The three champions I'm talking about Warlord, I'm talking about Madam Seris, and I'm talking about Kaimar, three of the most widely used champions. In fact, this AI change might make Warlord the most overpowered champion in arena. Why, you ask? Well, Warlord has two important skills. One is this A2 that blocks debuffs and puts a shield on your allies. And that's great. That's great skill. Love it. Fine. But the skill we all love Warlord for, the one that makes him so OP in arena, is a 3 skill that will attacks all enemies and then puts each target's skills on cooldown. It doesn't block cooldowns. It just puts them on cooldowns. It's an incredibly OP skill. Obviously, it's something that can be resisted, but it's very difficult to do. This is an amazing skill. It works through immunity. It's what makes Warlord so good in this game, and he doesn't do it unless you have at least 2 champions on your team in immunity gear. Well, with this AI change, we don't have to worry about that anymore. That's huge. I mean, huge. Typically, we like to he will like to prioritize using the block debuff skill. We don't want that as players. We want him to use the cooldown skill. Well, now we can make sure that happens by skill prioritizing him on our team. The other champion, another one, who was it I was talking about? Madam Seris obviously is just an amazing champion. I still use her in my arena team all the time. I think she's probably one of the best at this. She's one of the few champions, actually I think maybe the only champion that will remove all the enemy buffs and place decreased defense on them. That's a huge ability. That's really like 2 skills in one for us. So that's such an important thing because, the things that you have to bring in arena, you need to bring damage, you need to bring decreased defense so you can hit them hard and kill them, but you also need to strip their buffs so you can get through whatever shields or immunity they already have on, in addition to speeding your team up. Those are really the skills that we need. Well, she does 2 of those things. She strips the buffs and she puts decreased defense, not to mention decreased attack on as well. Thing is, much like Warlord, she won't use the skill unless at least 2 of her allies have immunity. And so with this skill prioritization, I think we can make her do that on auto all the time, regardless of immunity gear or not. That's huge. So I think that's going to be a big difference in arena. All in all, a lot of people are going to be start using her again. And then the very last one is Kaimar. And the reason why Kaimar is so good, I mean, there's lots of reasons why Kaimar is so good. One of the best is he has this AoE sleep and remove all buffs. I mean, bonkers skills, guys. I mean, sleep is not the best, but for arena purposes, basically like a stun skill. Because if they don't get to go, that's great. We don't have to worry about being cut in. We don't have to worry about them taking their first actions. We just get to go, and we can do it at a nice, slow pace. So removing all the buffs is obviously huge. Like I said, getting that sleep out there is massive as well. So that's a huge skill, but he doesn't really like to use that. Typically uses this turn meter boost, which resets the skill of allies, even if only one ally is gone. We don't usually want to use that right away. However, if your team does want to use it right away, guess what you can do? You can prioritize that now. How perfect is that? Also, if you think about it, in like a go second team, where maybe hey, there's going to be some enemy warlords that are going to hit us. Well, guess what I have now? I have a Kaimar to reset my cooldown. So even if Warlord resets our skills, doesn't matter. Kaimar's there to reset them back. So there's definitely some positives about using him there. I think that's going to make a massive change in the arena. I'm really kind of interested to see how the metas change in there because it could get pretty wonky for a little while. Then we come to the last 2 champions. So that's 8 of them already knocked out of the way. The last 2 champions have their own categories because these are the 2 that are going to be the most impacted in this game. Like as far as clan boss goes, as far as anything goes, you're gonna these two I think are gonna have the biggest impact. Now, obviously, when we're talking arena, those last three are gonna be top tier, but outside of arena, these two are gonna have the biggest impact. And one of them nobody really uses because he's so hard to use, so hard to tune, likes to kill himself, all these things. But he's an amazing champion, and this is gonna be the creme de la creme as far as budget unkillable stun targets go. I think this is gonna be the top tier champion, and actually the number 2 champion I'll talk about in that game on video, but the top one I think is going to be Ragnar Goldgleam. Ragnar hits hard, has some great skills, but he also has one really bad skill. So his A1, it's a leech level leech, right? That can make it a little bit difficult for like a budget team, right? Because obviously healing's a factor, but great champion, right? We're going to start seeing him definitely in unkillable teams, if not budget unkillables, because I haven't tried him there because of his other skills. But if we don't see him in budget unkillable teams, which is viable, he might not work because of that leech alone. But if we don't, we will see him in some more traditional clan boss teams. I could see him being great in a bad eater team, for example, because he also gives himself an increased attack buff, places weaken, and decreased defense, all before attacking too. That's really strong. Weaken and decreased defense is what you always want. This book's down to a 4-turn cooldown. However, he also has a passive skill here that decreases the cooldown of that skill every time he loses 15% HP. With that leech out there, he's always going to be healing up. So if you use him over, let's say, I don't know, over a bad eater team, a team with man eater where you're constantly losing health, that skill is going to be dropping and will become a 3-turn cooldown. He's basically going to be using it every other turn, which makes it as viable as any decreased defense and weakened champion out there. It's a really positive skill. Now, the problem with this kit is his A2 skill, where he does damage to himself, gives himself a shield instead, and then gives himself a bunch of turn meter boost. I mean, that's fine. The big issue with it, however, is, of course, he kills himself. So for an unkillable team, this isn't the best skill at all. In fact, it's pretty bad, I would say. And that turn meter boost makes him really hard to tune for things like clan boss. And he's clearly designed as a clan boss champion. But, with this AI change, I think this is going to have a really big impact. Now, like I said, that leech debuff, that's going to be an issue as far as using him in an unkillable team, a clan boss team, the budget unkillable specifically. That one could be a little bit wonky when you're trying to target the stun. But if that's not an issue, if we can find our ways to work around that, which I think we can, if we can find our ways to work around that, man, he's going to be great. Going to be great champion for you guys. Really good stun target, I think, overall. But the last champion, the one I'm most excited about, and I think you guys all should be too, is going to be the one, the only, Sir Nicholas, Santa. Santa, the unkillable champion that nobody can tune. Or if you do, it takes you an hour and a half to get to the tune, right? You have to manual for 10 turns or something. Well, now we don't have to worry about that, guys. Now we just have an amazing unkillable champion. Because the issue is his unkillable ability books down to a 4-turn cooldown. His shield books down to a 3-turn cooldown. You want to guess which one he tries to prioritize? He always tries to do the shield. And by doing that, it throws out the timing of the unkillable buff. But now we can switch that. We can actually prioritize the unkillable buff like we want to. So that will come up regularly, and that's going to be huge for us. Because now no longer do we have to have a special speed tune just for him so we can use him on auto. Now we don't have to worry about, everybody's HP dropping, so we make sure to use his unkillable at a certain time. We don't have to worry about that anymore. We can just put him in the team. So basically every team that uses Tower can use Sir Nick instead. I mean, pretty much. Every team that uses a Warcaster can probably use a Sir Nick now. It's an incredible change for us. This is going to make a big difference. And the best part is, Sir Nicholas hits hard. You can build him to do some serious damage. In the early days of the Bad Eater teams, Sir Nicholas was in some of those world record teams because he can hit so hard. The issue was you had to manual the darn run to make it work. Now we don't have to worry about that. And that's, I think, going to be a major difference. So those are the 10 champions that I think are going to have the biggest impact due to this AI change. Now, that's just my thoughts right now. I am really looking forward to seeing what you guys come up with. What crazy iterations you guys have. I mean, look, there's you know, like I think 600 plus champions now. They all have different AI things. There's going to be some champions that, you know, have certain turn meter boost things. Maybe we can ignore them. There's some champions that you want to use those skills a little bit more frequently. And I'm really excited to see how this all blends together. I already have, like I said, I got 5 other champions I'm going to be talking about that I think are going to have a really nice impact due to the AI changes. So there's a lot of possibilities here as far as ways to really build your teams going forward. And I think that's going to be massive. In fact, I can tell you right now, there are 2 rare champions that are going to go from trash tier to A tier for clan boss. 2 of them. I got them in my head right now. Like I said, they're in that game on video. There's so many champions that are going to have a massive, massive change just due to this, and I cannot tell you how excited I am about it. I mean, it's going to change the game for a lot of people because it's going to make a lot more possible comps readily available for folks to use and on auto. And, you know, I think that's great. You know, like we shouldn't all have to have these unkillable champions, one of these 4 different unkillable champions in order to build a team. And now you don't. You won't. You're going to be able to do this a lot easier. Stay tanky longer, survive more attacks, find different ways to build your team up and survive. And I think that's a really, really positive thing. And also, we don't have to fight anymore about, this champion has bad AI. How do we make this work? It's like, you know what? I don't have to worry about that. Let me just make sure it works the way I want it to. So I'm really excited about this, if you can't tell. Yeah, that's all we have for today, guys. I hope you like this. I hope this started getting you thinking about different champions you can start to use. In fact, let me know down below in the comments, what is a champion? Tell me one champion you're most excited to use with this new AI change. I want to know. I want to know who's the one that you guys want to use the most, that you think this is going to have the biggest impact on. Because I only named 10. I'm sure I'm missing a bunch of them, right? Because there's so many champions and they all do things just a little bit different. But if you want to see 5 that I think are going to be great outside of those that I named, that's in that game on video down below, check that out. Once again, thank you to all my Patreons for supporting. I know I keep shouting it out in the videos because honestly, I wouldn't be here without them. So I want to say thank you again. And guys, if you enjoyed this, please subscribe and like the video. And yeah, till next we meet, I'm the Deadwood Jedi.